think we'll get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate your being here. My comments today are going to be fairly brief. I've got some numbers for you and some information related to future updates, and then I'll take a few questions. Basically, our last numbers are from yesterday afternoon, late afternoon, and we've managed to count a total of 26,772 ballots at this point. As you can see, that's not very much more than we had at the end of the day of Tuesday. The bottleneck continues to be the duplication process. The good news there is that we've pretty much worked through the backlog. So now we're dealing with all the vote by mail ballots that we're processing, and they're just a part of the process now. So we have a good flow, and it's operating very smoothly. But my original plan to do daily updates, I've now decided, because the numbers are really not growing significantly enough to give anyone meaningful data, next week we will resume our traditional path of Tuesday updates and Friday updates. Those again will be in the evening around 5 o'clock, and we'll provide those. I think the more important thing is we now have an unprocessed ballot report that we have sent to the Secretary of State. We'll be updating that this evening when we release the Friday evening update of the vote count. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get that to you yesterday evening. We did encounter a situation that's related to the duplication process. One of the things that became clear as we were preparing the report is that the A card, which is the page 1 and 2 of the ballot, the one that is predominantly the candidate races, has only 3,676 requiring a duplication. The B card, which is the propositions and measures, is the one where the real problem exists, and we have 12,734 of the page 3 and 4 of the ballot to duplicate. Unfortunately, the way the Secretary of State has their reporting template set up, the only thing that gets entered is the A card. That's what Hart uses to designate the ballot, and so the numbers that we provide to the Secretary of State actually show an undercount of the undercount, if you will, by about 9,000 ballots. So right now the numbers are these: 59,446 vote by mail ballots remain to be counted, 1,736 provisional ballots, and as I remarked yesterday, a provisional ballot has to undergo an eligibility check. Some of those may end up not being eligible to be accepted as a valid vote, so the number that eventually contributes to our total may be less than that 1,736 figure. The conditional voter registration provisional ballots, 562, that's where someone missed the October 21st registration deadline. We have a vote on the day, or register on the day law in California. So if people come in and register, then they're given a provisional ballot to vote. And when that provisional ballot is matched up with their registration, it's basically flagged to go into the total count. As I mentioned, 3,676 Card A duplications, 12,734 Card B duplications, and then there are 1,302 challenged ballots. Those are ballots that during the signature verification process, either the envelope did not have a signature or the signature did not match with what we had in the registration roll. Each of those voters is notified and given an opportunity to come down and cure their signature by providing the most recent signature in a written format. Frequently what we find is that the signatures that are taken at the DMV, they occur on an electronic device, and it's just sort of a cultural artifact now that when people walk up to pay points at the grocery store, or they walk up to things that sign with their fingertip, they tend to make a squiggle or a mark and not their usual legal signature. So when we have only those types of signatures on record, it makes it very difficult to verify the signature. But we always have a process where they can come down, and it's called signature cure, and they have until December 1st to do that. So I anticipate those ballots will be ultimately in the mix as well. So the number that we reported to the Secretary of State was 66,722 total unprocessed ballots. It's actually closer to 72,000 ballots because of that Card B and the situation I explained there. What that means as a practical matter is we've been running at about 6,000 ballot duplications for the ballot cards a day, and we've found that about a 50% failure to scan rate. So we know that we have about 36,000 ballots that will ultimately have to be duplicated. And of course, we're still receiving some in the mail. If they were postmarked November 5th, they have until the 12th of November to reach our office and still be considered eligible for the total vote. I can tell you that I've talked to staff, and the number that are coming in the mail now are not very large. I think they said something like about 50 or 100 today. So I don't expect that to move the bar much. But what it does mean is we have 36,000 at our bottleneck, and if we're doing about 6,000 a day, it's going to take at least 6 or 7 days to fully get that through the part of the process where those are being duplicated. Again, I'm very confident that we will be able to process all our ballots by about the 21st or 22nd of November, well in advance of the date I'm required to certify the election on December 3rd. That'll give us about a week buffer. It'll give us plenty of time to do our 1% manual hand count, which is the audit of the part intercivic tabulation calculations. So I believe we're in a good place in terms of the process. It's just to date, we don't have the numbers that one would typically see in a presidential general election. I ask the public to be patient. Those numbers will come, and again, we'll have a drop this evening around 5 o'clock, and again on Tuesday next week at around 5 o'clock. That's what I have in terms of numbers for you. At this time, I'll take a couple of questions.
So a quick question.
Yes.
Will this ROV office be working over the weekend? I know Monday's a holiday, Veterans Day, but does that supersede that no matter what, staff will be working Saturday, Sunday, Monday? Could you clarify?
We're going to be working Monday. We're working a 7 to 7 shift all next week, so 12 hours. We made the decision not to work this Saturday because we had people here that worked 22, 23 hours on Tuesday, and we've had a number of people who have graciously volunteered from the county, and they've returned on multiple days, because what we found is when we pair an experienced person with a new person in each of the processes, it cuts down on the training time and makes things run much more smoothly. Again, serving our goal of trying to be completely accurate. Again, accuracy rather than efficiency. So it was felt that in deference to our staff and the amount of work they've been doing, we're going to let them have the Saturday to recharge their batteries. We've never worked on Sundays. You know, I'm a man of faith, and I believe people deserve a day of rest. And I hope the public would join me in supporting that belief. But we will resume on Monday, even though it's a holiday for everyone else. My staff will be working 12 hours that day at a minimum. There are several of us who are here after hours. Observers may have noted that basically we've been closing down activities at about 4:30 in the afternoon here, but that doesn't mean the work stops. We're performing reports. We're preparing for sort of what's next on the agenda. We're doing things like planning for the 1% manual hand count audit. So I want to assure the public that we're working hard, and appearances can be deceptive in some cases. Yes.
For the purposes of accuracy and increasing public trust, would you be willing to consider doing a 100% hand count audit of the ballots that had to be duplicated?
I'll tell you why we can't do that, and I'll use an example to illustrate it. Before we ever begin tabulating the official ballot, we run a 3,000 ballot test deck through the HART machines. It's called the logic and accuracy testing phase. That 3,000 card or 3,000 ballot deck is hand counted, every one of them. It took 4 of my employees working 5 days to hand count that 3,000 ballot test deck. So if we've got 90,000 ballots, you're talking an order of magnitude of 30 times the 3,000. That would mean I'd need 120 people to work 5 days, or I'd need considerably less people, because at this point, frankly, there's no way I could get 12 more, let alone 120 more. But on the other side, I have a hard date, December 3rd, that I have to certify. So I don't have enough days. Any way you look at the mix between days and workers, it's physically impossible at this point to hand count in the way that has been suggested. I am I'm at a loss for words. I don't know what I can tell the public, but I have seen absolutely no evidence that our HART intercivic machine is not tabulating accurately. If there's ever a problem, in my experience, it has been due to human error. And it's always something that we can solve. There's always a way that we can reverse a process or change a process to correct an error. Our focus is 100% on accuracy. So
how can you say machines that have a 50% rejection rate are accurate?
Well, we know why they're rejecting 50% of the ballot. There's a overprint spray in the barcodes that the HART machine won't tabulate. Okay? I don't know how it cropped up. They're going to get to the bottom of that, but I do know what the solution is, and we've come up with it. And I can tell you that, frankly, our ballots are getting far more scrutiny because of our duplication process than they would in a traditional election. These things are being looked at by at least 3 sets of eyes that never before looked at this many ballots, with the sole goal of making sure that the ballot voted by the voter is exactly the same as the ballot that was being duplicated.
One last question. Why haven't you released the results of the logic and accuracy testing?
It's not appropriate to do that at this time. Right now, I'm focusing on counting my ballots. Yes?
So there's on the site, on the results page, there's a graph that says voter turnout, and it's listed at 23.40%. The way I'm getting questions from readers about that, the way I am understanding that is that is the percentage of ballots cast, but because it says voter turnout, people are confused. If we don't know a total number of ballots, how do we know what the voter turnout was?
Right. Let me clarify that. First of all, closely related to that is the fact that our website shows 100% of precincts reporting.
Yes.
And that refers specifically to ballots cast at the polling place on election day only. So that's the 10,000 or so ballots that were cast on precinct ballots, counted Tuesday night, and that's why we show 100% precincts reporting. That's basically the requirement for the Secretary of State to say, okay, you're finished Tuesday night, now go back to counting vote by mail ballots. In terms of turnout, you're exactly right. They're basing that turnout on the number of votes cast. When I speak about turnout, I'm talking about the ratio of ballots that we have in-house that we know are going to be counted, divided by the number of registered voters, 115,626. So, looking again at this unprocessed ballot report, we have a total of say, 66,722 unprocessed ballots. We've counted 26,772 ballots. You know, just rough back of the envelope math, that's 1,592 is 93,000 ballots, which are the total universe of ballots that could be counted. And when you divide 93,000 by 115,000, you're looking at right around an 80% or just a bit above turnout for the election. But when you see the things on the website, it's just dealing with what's actually been completely processed. So it's, again, early days, and those numbers can show you a bit of a trend, but they're not the end of the story.
Do other counties in the state, through your research, use Rundeck?
I know that there are other counties that use Rundeck.
Are there any of these other counties having issues with this ink spray issue that do not use hard machines?
That I'm not aware of in California. Only Nevada, and they use the heart machines. And as I remarked before we began, my number 2, Joanna Francesca, is actually down in Nevada County today assisting them because they chose a different duplication process, and they're now finding that their back end is less easy to repose confidence in, shall we say. So she's helping them to try to get back on track. That's how confident we are here that we're going to be fine. The Secretary of State, we were on a meeting at 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. They wanted to know how we were doing. They wanted to know how Nevada was doing. And as a part of that meeting, Nevada got a commitment from Rundeck to send more equipment. Nevada got a commitment from HART to fund additional workers and a room, because they were running up against some space configuration problems. And the Secretary of State asked for our help as well, and we volunteered to go down and share our experience and the things that we found have worked. So I'm very gratified by the Secretary of State's recognition that we've got a good handle on this.
How do you justify sending Joanna out to a different state while we're still counting our elections?
Different county, not
County,
different state.
sorry, Nevada County.
Well, we're in constant communication. We have a pretty good infrastructure IT-wise, so if we need to transfer numbers or have any kind of communication, I can do that. I can tell you, I justify it because things are going very smoothly today. I mean, we're just cranking away at the numbers, and we're doing the same thing we did yesterday, and it's the same thing we'll do Monday. We're just trying to get more and more efficiency and get more ballots through the system. You know, while I did pull an oar on Tuesday night and was actually doing some of the ballot handling myself, you know, Joanna and I are really, we're the captain and the lieutenant of the ship, and we're just trying to keep it going straight toward our goal. I want to be able to certify on December 3rd. I want to be able to convince the public that this has been a fair, impartial election and that their ballot has been treated with the utmost accuracy and security so that they can be confident in the results.
Real quick, just some house cleaning. You've thrown out a couple of dates. Are we December 6th, December 3rd? When do you have to certify by?
Well, I'm going to do it December 3rd. The federal stuff has to be December 3rd. The local stuff has to be December 6th. But traditionally, we've never made that distinction. Here in Shasta County, we've almost always been ready to certify well in advance of that. It's just because of the recent legislation that now, you know, we could be done tomorrow. That's not going to happen. But we can't certify until December 3rd. My intention is to do it on December 3rd.
Can you clear, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
Can you just clarify the total number of uncounted ballots? Because I heard 66 something and I heard 72 something. I just want to make sure.
Sure. I guess what I'm conflating the two. So there's 66,722 unprocessed ballots.
Right.
And that number includes the 3,676 Card A that remain to be duplicated. So there's an additional 9,000 Card B that need to be duplicated
So they haven't been
and
processed.
remarried with a Card A. So it's when you add 9 to 66, it's 75,000, right? So it's hard to pin down exactly because we can't. Right now, all the Heart machine will tell us is what the A card number is. We know what the B card number is through our duplication. You know, we're creating batches and we're tracking that in a log. So we know there are more B cards than A cards. And I have to keep reminding myself that a card is just a page in the ballot. A ballot is both those cards together.
Right.
So-
So just, I'm not trying to be difficult, but you know, for the everyday community member,
Right.
they're trying to assess their candidates, you know, length of margin against an overall ballot number remaining. And it sounds like that overall ballot number that has not been processed, where the vote totals haven't shown up, is around 72,000 is what you're saying.
Right, but
Okay.
I will say this, because the candidate races are on Card A, which has the lower duplication rate, the 66,700 number, the official number to the Secretary of State, is probably closer to the number that those who are interested in the candidate races want to focus on.
I see. So
Miss-
the vote totals include.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Teller, is unprocessed the same as uncounted?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Has the behavior of the public remained positive?
Pardon me?
Has the behavior of the public remained stable, I guess is the better word?
I've had nothing but good news from the public. I mean, there's always people that want to bring up suggestions or observations. I will tell you that there were a couple of complaints about things that happened at the polls. I've spoken to a couple of voters about those. As I've always maintained, you know, some people make mistakes. All our polls had steady turnout, long lines. You know, we're trying to determine, we're keeping a log of all that. We're trying to determine if that's something we need to address in future training, or if it's an issue of just the extraordinary nature of the situation, and not to excuse it, but to basically try and find if we can develop solutions. Does it mean we need an extra clerk at larger polling places? You know, what are the kinds of things we can do to make sure that we're 100% complaint free? May never get to that goal, but I'd sure like to work toward it.
Have you had to issue any warnings for observers?
No, again, the observers have been wonderful.
Okay.
They're up there, they're pursuing their observation, and everything is smooth. I have seen nothing but polite, civil behavior. That's very gratifying. You know, I'm aware that there are still things that they would like to have, like the 100% manual audit, that are simply just not, I'm not able to give them that, even if it were capable under the law. It's an impossibility, as I outlined. But, you know, they know that I know that. They know what they like. We understand each other. And so I respect that they've been very civil about that.
You mentioned the other day about starting on both ends of the blue bins and working in. So do you know what districts your ballots are that you've been processing?
Yes, those go from 1 to 5 across the room. So the reason I wanted to mention that yesterday, because the drop yesterday probably did not include a lot of data from District 3, which of course is the race that a lot of people are watching. Today's drop will include District 3 results. So we've been able to get a representation from all across the wall, as it were. And Tuesday, that'll be the case as well. So that was partly what motivated me to move back to the more traditional schedule, because I think I want these numbers to be meaningful for everyone in the county.
Mr. Toller, would that be all of District 3?
Pardon?
You just would that be all of District 3?
Yes, that's correct.
That's
so
included?
You'll notice, for instance, that the votes reported yesterday for the Fall River Fire District were 95 votes out of a possible 895 registered voters. I'm certain there are going to be more votes. We just haven't picked those up in the drop yesterday. We should see more votes in particularly that measure this time around. So.
Mr. Toller, do you anticipate having more press meetings like this that we've had the last few days, next week and onward, and then comma, do you have any feedback or impressions on all the variety of media that attends? So we've got radio media, we've got online people, we've got
Fake
traditional
media.
legacy media. How have you interpreted the
I
experience?
haven't given it a great deal of thought. I will tell you that I probably will not be meeting daily as I have been, partially because I'm running out of things to provide other than numbers, and frankly, I'm hoping that after today's drop and Tuesday's drop, the numbers will speak for themselves. Of course, I'll always be available if one wants to call me and ask questions about those numbers. Part of the reason why I went to this format of the 1:30 briefing was to try to herd cats, so to speak, and not have to take calls all throughout the day because I had other things to attend to. But again, things are dialing in now. Things are going smoothly, so my time is being freed up to do more of that sort of thing, and it shouldn't prove as necessary going forward to have these daily briefings. Any other questions? Was there a question from the gentleman online? Okay, you're welcome. All right. Yes, Sam?
There were a number of comments made during a public meeting last night, the county board meetings. There were comments made against, some have called them accusations against Assistant Registrar Joanna, who is your second in command. Do you have any comment on that or on the morale of your staff generally, or how those public comments coming in the middle of counting is affecting the elections office?
Well, I know that, I mean, it's not an ideal time to get that type of thing. I guess I'm particularly troubled by the fact that this is dealing with a matter that's now 2 years old. And in my view, you know, I'll take off my clerk cap now and put on my trial lawyer cap. When the board voted to sign the contract with HART and expend the grant funds for the HART intercivic machines, in a way they sort of ratified that grant. And so I find it a little troubling that now they're trying to revisit the issue. Again, it's before my time, and I have so little, well, I have no direct knowledge of it, and so little knowledge of it in general, that I don't think I can contribute meaningfully to the discussion. But it sure seems like we have enough to focus on now that that's where my attention is. That's where I'm directing my staff's attention. I know that's where their attention is. So, you know, I'm certain it's not welcome, but they're also professionals and they know how to focus on what needs to be done right now, given the situation.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. I think that's enough.
Thank
and
you.
I appreciate your being here.
Thank you.